One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free, then let me be free. From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart, steel and a spirit unbroken, he rides on to his ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and earth, thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow, he takes his step, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. Metal and mayhem will never die. Rituals report and paves his way. More legend in the making, day by day.
Man, it is a beautiful Tuesday morning over here in northern Alabama. Ladies and gentlemen, it is like 62, 63 degrees here in northern Alabama, and I couldn't be more stoked on that. Mega love, honor, respect to every single one of you guys, man. Thank you guys so much for being here. As you guys know, man, you guys could have been anywhere else in the world, and you guys decided to be right here with me, man. So I'm very appreciative of all of you guys. Hopefully you're all doing fantastic this morning. I know the hell that we are. So listen, everybody, before we get into like the madness and stuff like that, just to give you guys what is going on, we're going to get a live look at what is going on with the Trump tariffs regarding Mexico and Canada, as well as China, believe it or not. But China isn't really going to be discussed too much today. RFK Jr., his vote is live going on right now for HHS, some position. I forget what exact position it is. And then the fentanyl crisis hearing as well. We're going to have a whole fentanyl crisis hearing. I'm going to try my absolute best to not sit there and go on these long diatribes, allowing them to go on long diatribes that are super dry and shit like that. So, of course, we're going to do our absolute best to kind of skip it around and make sure that you guys get, obviously full context, but you don't need to hear the fucking bogus bullshit that people spew. Happens all the time. Happens every day in politics, as you guys, ladies and gentlemen, know. But before we get into it, make sure you guys hit that like button, everybody. Number one metric of all of YouTube, and it's free. Hitting that subscribe button is also free, by the way. Look, I got my cat's hair on the brim of my hat and shit. I can't go anywhere. Also, please consider becoming a member starting only at $2.99 a month, man. We made sure it is not going to break the bank. Every single Saturday morning, we give back to you guys over there. For the Breakfast Club, we have our members only live streams, and we get to be quite a bit uncensored. Let's see. Follow my Instagram at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only the show, but of my lifestyle, as well as Millennial Food Time. Make sure you guys hit me up over here. This is where I'd like direct message everybody. If you guys are interested in Discord, hit that the link in the description down below, as well as, listen, we're going to go ahead and do the very last call to action here. Of course, every single donation is read live. Super stickers, super chat, memberships, gifted memberships, stuff like that, of course, are going to be shouted out onto the show. But if you would like to help out the show monetarily and skip that brutal 30% YouTube cut, then you guys can help out down here on these platforms, scrolling on the bottom. And, of course, I will shout out your name and your message as well over there. So, ladies and gentlemen, we got a big one this morning. We got Fester up in the building. Always appreciate you, my man. Saying good morning, BV, and the rest of you hooligans. Absolutely, bro. We are a bunch of hooligans over here. We got Brother Steve, as well as we got Salty Badger. I just saw him come in. I was like, oh, shit. What's good, my man? And homie got a membership, man. I saw that he got one gifted. That's awesome. Always appreciate you, man. We got Brother Hardwire as well saying, good morning, everyone. Good morning, kind sir. Huggy, always good to see you, man. VT as well. And VT upgrading, or not upgrading, he's continuing his memberships for 3 months, saying, let's fucking go, chat. Support the stream. Absolutely. Thank you very much for your patronage, kind sir. Goes a long way. And thank you for your membership. Hopefully you enjoy that. We got Glare 1% saying, sending in a $1.99 super sticker with no, there's no, nothing. It wasn't a super chat. It was a super sticker. But usually people like send in something to be able to have their comment read. And this kind of shit is super selfless when people just start sending in shit and not even a message. So Glare, my man down there in Texas, man, I'm always very appreciative of all of you guys hanging out with us, man, and helping out the channel. We got Tiffany as well as Brother S&S. Always good to see you guys, man. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. And yes, the chat are they're the elite ones. All of you guys are, you know. Chat always wins, and I very much know that. War Gorilla says, good morning, Mike Beasy and all of my delinquents. Yes, sir. You know what's going down. We got 13 Butchicon up in here as well, saying good morning, chat. And Mr. Mike, always appreciate you. Negative 11 degrees, VT. Fuck that. And fuck Canada. If you guys don't know, he lives in Canada, and that's way too fucking cold to me. Like, I can't deal with that level of cold, you know? Mike, did you listen to Grid's debate panel last night? I did not. I was actually watching the Raging Tomatoes side of the debate. She was hosting and the debate prompt was, do we allow and legalize all drugs? That was the debate prompt. Of course, who knows what anybody thinks about it. It was just the debate. And it was a fantastic conversation, actually. It got out of hand a little bit, but hey, those kind of conversations I think are fantastic. It kind of tests your logic and tests and see, you know, you want to be able to reduce down someone's position as much as you can. And that did happen quite a bit yesterday, which is always great. Johnny Reno up in here. Good to see you, my man. Saying morning, Mikey. Always appreciate you, kind sir. Hopefully you're enjoying right now over there in, you still in Colorado, kind sir? We got Brother Lee Lance. Always appreciated. Evil Rick, as always. Clean your room, young man. No, it is clean. What's behind me, though, is all the kitties shit. That's all her stuff. Her name's Lucy Ball. She has a good time in here, I promise. Joker MCR, what's up, my man? Saying what's up, Mike and everyone. Hopefully you're doing well as well. Always appreciate you guys. Let's get into the madness here in a minute. Your show is great. And man, Salty, I very much appreciate that. Thank you for the compliment, sincerely. Rabbit saying, hey, Mike and everyone, what's up, man? We got Alabama's finest up in the building. Mr. Boulay saying, good morning, fellas. Working and lurking. There is nothing wrong with that. Don't let anybody shame you for that, okay, Mr. Boulay? We don't shame that. We allow that. Yep. Yes, sir. Dark Horse saying, morning, bro. Mike in the Breakfast Club. Always good to see you as well. Another Alabamian, by the way. Cannon City, Colorado, bro. Got you. I've never actually went to Cannon, I don't think. Redneck Side absolutely is speaking facts, by the way. If you want 15% off of your entire order on Redneck Side motorcycle whips, go check them out, man. Listen, I think that code is unlimited time. So use that shit up, man. Use that shit up. Make sure you guys go over there and support not only a fantastic business, but someone that supports us as well. All right, let's go ahead and get into the madness of this morning. I think we're going to go ahead and talk about the Trump tariffs first and how they got paused. And let's go ahead and discuss that real quick.
Trafficking.
They've agreed to put in 10,000 soldiers permanently, like forever. 10,000.
Like forever. And yeah, this is not just Mexico. I don't know if you guys know that. Some of you guys probably do, but some of you guys may not either. Don't know. But I'll just say it anyways. So they agreed with Mexico yesterday or whatever it was, yesterday morning, that they were going to have 10,000 people down there at the border to stop, or help stop the fentanyl crisis as well as the illegal immigration. Well, Canada agreed to 10,000 people on their border as well, soldiers, and to guard our border up there. And so with those two things happening in combination, that is a pause on all tariffs for Mexico and Canada currently.
Soldiers.
I believe it's for 30 days. I believe it's for 30 days, but we'll see.
And stop fentanyl and illegal aliens from coming into our country.
The president confirmed the future negotiations would involve several members of his cabinet, as well as high-level representatives from Mexico. After a phone call with President Trump.
Hey, War Gorilla, I open up the show every day with that, and I close the show with that every day. Absolutely. You know the deal. I very much appreciate you. Hopefully you enjoyed at least the guitar part. The guitar part is me. So
Canada's prime minister confirmed his country will be implementing a
$1.3
billion border plan, which was originally rolled out in December, which includes deploying new technology and personnel to the northern border. In addition, Canada will appoint a new fentanyl czar.
I think the
fentanyl czar. Fentanyl czar. Who's this guy?
Tariffs at this point is a terrible idea.
What? What did he say?
Czar.
I think to keep on threatening the tariffs at this point is a terrible idea.
You're a fucking idiot.
Stupid.
Because, as I say, it makes your country poorer. Markets go down.
What are you talking about? Are you talking about what they're doing to us? Because did you forget that in 2022, Canada put a tariff on the United States? Is that what you're referring? Or are you talking about us?
And investment goes down and security goes down.
That's right.
As of now, President Trump's 10% tariff on China is still a go, but Mr. Trump says he plans to speak with Chinese President Xi Jinping later on in the week. In Washington, I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
Oh, yeah, we're putting a halt to that. Let's put a halt to that. We got Fester getting a call out right now. Listen, he's calling out the chat just like I am. We have all you guys motherfucking watching. We got 19 likes. Bro, come on, man. I believe in the Breakfast Club way more than that. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Helps out immensely. Appreciate you guys. And it's free.
All right, Kevin, thank you so much for that update. Meanwhile,
Hell
the Trump
yeah, War Gorilla.
administration is working to overhaul federal agencies, including the Justice Department and the FBI. President Trump appears to be targeting.
Wow, fathers fight back. Man, what a compliment that is. He says, this is one of my absolute favorite channels. Y'all are awesome. You know what makes this channel awesome, to be honest? Yes, I am behind the microphone. Yes, granted. But what really is what makes this shit awesome is you guys in the chat. The Breakfast Club, honestly, I have many, many YouTuber friends that come around and observe and lurk and stuff. And I always get the same fucking message from them. They always tell me the same shit. You have the best community. You have the best community. You don't even realize how lucky you are. I'm like, you think I don't realize how lucky I am? Stop the cap, bro.
Stop the cap.
You know, but it's true. It's very true. You guys make the show.
Targeting employees who worked on cases involving the January 6th rioters. Fox News correspondent David Spunt also joining us from Washington with the latest.
A mass exodus is in the works.
Good to hear, by the way, Mr. Boulay, saying Senate committee advances RFK Jr. nomination to the full Senate vote. And I figured it would.
Inside the halls of the DOJ
Thank
and
you for
FBI.
that update.
Acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove, the
Cat's over there in the UK. Good to see you as well. Good afternoon.
former defense attorney to President Trump, sending a department-wide memo entitled Terminations. Quote, I do not believe that the current leadership of the Justice Department can trust these FBI employees to assist in implementing the president's agenda faithfully. Bove instructed FBI leaders to compile lists of agents involved in the more than 1,500 investigations of January 6 rioters. At least 4,000 agents across the country received a 12-question survey about their roles that was due by 3 p.m. today. An unnamed current FBI agent says, quote, we took an oath to protect the American people and the Constitution, and now we are being targeted for it. A former
Aaron over there in Ohio, man. Good to see you on the Facebook side of shit, man. Hopefully you're having a fantastic morning.
FBI agent tells Fox, quote, cleaning up Washington doesn't mean tearing down the institutions that protect Americans. We need real reform, not a purge. Let's fix what's broken without destroying what works. President Trump today doubling down on the changes.
We have to have pristine.
Yeah, I love that. Yep, that's awesome, man. 31 days old, man. That's awesome. Congratulations to you, kind sir, and hopefully you enjoy your rest of your morning as well.
Beautiful,
appreciate you always, man.
Law enforcement, and what we want to do, and Cash is the one to do it.
Just last week, during his confirmation hearing, FBI Director nominee Kash Patel, who has yet to be confirmed, assured lawmakers there would be no retribution.
Every FBI employee will be held to the absolute same standard, and no one will be terminated for case assignments. All FBI employees will be protected against political retribution.
We reached out to Kash Patel for comment, but have not yet heard back. It's unclear why, but DOJ officials also want to identify those agents involved in the case involving senior Hamas leaders accused and charged of killing Americans in October 2023. A former FBI official tells Fox News if this expected purge goes through, it could take up to 2 years to get
Brother Slim, good morning, kind sir.
the FBI back to current levels of agents. In Washington, David Spunt, Fox News.
Fox News.
All right, David, thank you so much. And as we get more information on your political headlines, you'll get it right here on Live Now from Fox. 6:04 here on the East Coast.
Let me get a guess. You're going to go and take a break or some bullshit?
Francine. We're going to go ahead and take our first 2-minute.
Called it. No, we're not, though. We get to skip right ahead. We're going to go ahead and actually discuss the meeting of Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu real quick. Let's go and back it up a little bit. All right. This is good enough. Good enough.
6:07 here on the East Coast. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. If you're just now tuning in, good morning to you. A quick content reminder. If you are just now tuning in, President Donald Trump slated to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. That's expected to
Papa Penguin. Good morning, sir.
Happen around 5:10 p.m. here on the East Coast. Of course, they're expecting
know what time it is?
The latest with ceasefire negotiations.
We didn't get to do this shit at all yesterday, so we're about to do it.
And of course, U.S.-Israeli relations. And speaking of the conflict in Israel, I want to give you all a live look there at this hour. You can see a live look there, Rafah, which is an area of Gaza, the destruction from that long conflict with Israel and Hamas. And then you do see those trucks there. Those are actually aid trucks coming in to aid with that looming humanitarian crisis, which was honestly there long before the conflict erupted back on October 7th. But you can only imagine how the conflict made that situation worse. The United Nations coming together this Tuesday morning to hold a briefing in Geneva about the latest with this conflict in the Middle East. Let's listen in.
Question, Nina?
It was just if there'd been any complication.
No, hold on. We're going into. I don't want to hear the UN. I'm going to be quite honest. I have no actual care in the world for what the UN has to say. I actually want to completely defund all of the UN, as well as NATO and the EU and everything. So I really could get, at this point, I really could care less. So let's go ahead and talk about Marco Rubio real quick. And this is going to be a very quick segment on him. He went down to El Salvador, I believe it is. Well, I'll double check that here in a sec. As he went from Panama to El Salvador, I believe. So let's go ahead and see what they're talking about.
Now from Fox, as we continue with your top stories and headlines this Tuesday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio working on some of President Trump's top agenda items during his first foreign trip to South America. He viewed a deportation flight from Panama to Colombia and also turned his focus to China's influence in the Panama Canal. He spoke with Fox News, sharing highlights and agenda items of his trip. Let's listen in.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining.
Man, why are you guys so quiet? I have you blasted on here, blasted on my board, and I can barely hear your ass.
El Salvador, really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Okay, he is in El Salvador.
You've just come from Panama.
There we go.
And
they brought up the levels.
You said that your meetings in Panama went well. After them, President Trump said that we're going to take the canal back, or something very powerful is going to happen. What's going to happen?
Well, I hope nothing's going to happen, and it shouldn't, because look, the president's point is we gave the canal in a treaty to Panama. We didn't give it to China. You come
Right, and within that treaty, by the way, how much do you think we sold that shit for? Yeah, you know how the bullshit goes. You know when like your dad like sells you a fucking car. Now, I didn't have this luxury, but some people did. Oh, just give me $1 for the fucking car, blah 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 type shit. That's exactly what happened with the Panama Canal. $1. One measly dollar. Yeah, and that same dollar back then, that's probably worth like 10 cents now. Ain't that a bitch? The most expensive operation that the United States has ever put forth, ever, and the most amount of deaths happened from making the whole operation. 38,000 people fucking died on the construction of that shit to be given away for $1. Like, logically, that's fucking incredible. Stupid. That's insane. What the fuck are we doing?
back 20 years later and you go to the canal, and on the entry points of both sides of the canal is a Chinese-linked company. In fact, when I was visiting there yesterday, the ship behind me, just over my shoulder, was a Hong Kong shipping vessel. And so their presence, not just in the canal, but in Panama writ large, is very disturbing.
So ridding their presence could solve this whole problem?
Well, we didn't give the canal to China. I mean,
that's
it's
correct.
A violation of the
it is a violation of it's a direct violation of the treaty, actually. I believe it's Section 5 of the of that whole bit, to be able to keep it a treaty within Panama. It was given to Panama to be owned and or operated. Well, I guess theoretically owned as well, because we gave ownership, and operated and ran by Panama and not by China. It actually specifically states in the treaty that China cannot be involved.
Treaty. What I told President Molino yesterday was that President Trump's made a preliminary.
Yo, Dirty. Good morning, kind sir. Good to see you, man.
Determination that you're in that there's a violation of the treaty. You're in violation of the treaty because a sovereign other country, a third country, has effective control over the canal area.
Yes.
And this, absent serious measures, we're going to have to preserve our rights under the treaty. Mm-hmm.
Now, I am extremely glad that Rubio is talking the way he is about this. I obviously you guys know where my stance is. You guys know where I stand on pretty much most of these issues. So I really, Marco Rubio, I've never been like the biggest fan of, but lately watching what he has been doing, even just since JD Vance swore him in, is that he's actually done a fairly decent job. He's out there actually doing the shit. Even just yesterday, he was down there in Panama. So, all right, back to this.
Obviously, there are a lot of options in that regard, and I think people speculate things, but I don't think we'll ever get to that point.
That's right, Dirty. Hit that like button for everybody. Dirty's telling all you guys, hit that like button, yo.
Didn't get to that point. So we had a very frank conversation. Since then, they've taken some steps. They announced that they're going to get out of the Belt and Road Initiative. We'd like to see more. We hope to see more in the days to come.
Good morning over there in Florida.
The government doesn't control the canal. It's run by an independent agency, the Canal Zone. So they have to go through some legal steps that they have to carry out. But my hope ultimately is that we can get back to a point where that canal is what it was meant to be, which is a place where the United States and Panama are working in partnership. It's free it's open for everyone, and that no foreign power through their companies or any other means has the ability.
That's what Rubio just stated right there, was the support contracts, because they're independent theoretically, even though we know they're not. We all know those entities are owned and operated as well by China. But hey, we're getting into semantics, but I guess semantics are important. Papa Penguin says Chinese lawyers for this kind of stuff are extremely competent at following the letter of the law and ignoring the intent. Ooh, that's fucking dirty. I mean, that sounds, that's very interesting. A very interesting way to do that. They do everything quite literal by the book, what they're interpreting, not what the actual intent was. Interesting.
Use it against us in a time of conflict and impede travel through it, because
so this
it's smart.
Easily get resolved without the United States taking direct operational control of the canal?
Yeah, there's a lot of options, and I'm not going to preclude any options about what the final outcome looks like. But at a prerequisite baseline, we cannot continue to have the Chinese and through their companies exercising effective control of the canal area. And that needs to happen. I was pretty clear, and I hope that we'll see additional steps in the days to come to reaffirm that.
Mm-hmm. So you're now the head of USAID. The head of Doge, Elon Musk, called USAID a criminal organization and added that it is time for it to die. Do you agree with that?
Let me walk you through the history of this agency.
Oh, shit.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Because I've dealt with it for 14 years in the United States Senate. It was created as a way of doing humanitarian assistance in the world, separate from the State Department at the time. But it said you have to take policy direction from the Secretary.
Yeah, it is 3:25 in the morning for you, Charles. What are you doing? It's a whole ass day ahead in 3 o'clock in the morning type shit. Charles saying, morning people, it's way too early for me to be awake. Absolutely. Down there in Australia.
State, the National Security Council, the White House, and all elements
Good morning.
of government. They have basically evolved into an agency that believes that they're not even a U.S. government agency, that they are a global charity, that they take the taxpayer money.
A bunch of globalists taking our money, taking our money and then spending it elsewhere and using it elsewhere.
And they spend it as a global charity.
Yeah, that's insanity. Yes. Yep.
Irrespective of whether it is in the national interest or not in the national interest. One of the most common complaints you will get if you go to embassies around the world from State Department officials and ambassadors and the like is USAID is not only not cooperative, they undermine the work that we're doing in that country. They are supporting programs that upset the host government for whom we're trying to work with on a broader scale and so forth. So they're completely unresponsive. They just don't consider that they work for the US. They just think they're a global entity and that their master is the globe and not the United States. And that's not what the statute says, and that's not sustainable. President put a pause on all foreign aid.
He just said it.
We found a lot of cooperation in the State Department, and we have issued dozens and dozens of waivers. As we go through all the foreign aid programs in the Department of State, the ones that make sense, we issue a waiver, they go back on. We've already done it for dozens of programs.
And you'll be issuing more waivers soon?
And we'll be doing so. For example, we did it today for some of the counter migrant flights that are going out of Panama. It's in our national interest to help.
Joseph, what's good, my man? Saying good morning, Mr. Ball, Breakfast Crew, BNC, and can't forget the haters. Stop the cap.
Stop the cap.
Stop the cap, cuh. What's good, man? Hopefully you're enjoying yourself and staying warm up there in Canada. How cold is it for you right now, kind sir?
Them deport people that are headed towards the United States back to their home countries. And we'll issue some here today in El Salvador because they do a lot of
Yes, 100%. Johnny Reno, 100%. He says, how much have been spent on transgender llama humping in Peru? Valid question. Never thought we would ever, a question like that. You would think, oh, that's crazy. Just even 20, 30 years ago. Now that's an actual question.
A lot of cooperation with us on stopping drugs and stopping migration and so forth. So we're going through it at the State Department portion of foreign
That's
aid.
awesome, Hook Dog.
We find cooperation. State Department people have been great, and we're issuing waivers and we're getting input, and it's working. We go to USAID, which is a big chunk of foreign aid, $40 billion or so. They're completely uncooperative.
Yo, -2 in Montana. Oh my God. That is way too fucking cold. Let me look up what it is exactly right this second. It is, let me show you what I've got. -19 degrees Celsius. Holy shit, Joseph. Yeah, that's fucked. It is 64 degrees Fahrenheit here. It's going to get up to 68. Shit. And then the coldest is 54 degrees at 4:30 in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever. Tomorrow.
They won't tell you what the programs are. They refuse to answer questions. They try to push through payments. Even after the executive order, they were still trying to push money through the system.
Can it be reformed or does it need to die?
Well, that was always the goal, was to reform it. But now we have rank insubordination. Now we have basically an active effort where their basic attitude is we don't work for anyone. We work for ourselves. No agency of government can tell us what to do. So the president made me the acting administrator. I've delegated that power to someone who's there full time, and we're going to go through the same process.
Penguin Posse, -37? Dude, that's so ungodly. That's insane. That's insane. That's like an ice hell. Damn, bro. I think you won. I think you won, homie. You won.
process at USAID as we're going through now at the State Department.
That's cold.
I think there are some, this is not about getting rid of foreign aid. There are things that we do through USAID that we should continue to do that makes sense. And we'll have to decide, is that better through the State Department or is that better through something, a reformed USAID? That's the process we're working through. There are things that are happening at USAID that we should not be involved in funding, or that we have a lot of questions about, but they're completely uncooperative. So we had no choice but to take dramatic steps.
Hook dog rubbing in that Cali weather. I'm going to be honest. I'd rather have it at 64 right now than 83. 83 is uncomfortable for me. Anything above 75, I'm going to be really honest, I'm uncomfortable in. I'm a total wimp when it comes to temperature.
To bring this thing under control.
So it could exist in the future, USAID.
Well, the aid, I think it's important to separate USAID from aid programs, okay? Because everybody's acting like somehow these aid programs are impossible without an agency.
It's very process-oriented. I mean, do you think that we'll still be the most generous nation on earth at the end of this process?
I think we'll be the most generous nation on earth, but we think we're going to be the most generous nation on earth in a way that makes sense.
It makes sense, and that we've got boundaries. We got framework. Yes, hey, you fuck us over, we're not sending you any more money. Yeah, we need to stop doing that. We keep sending money to fucking people that have never given us a dollar. Like what, when shit goes down, like how much money has Ukraine sent us? For all the craziness that's been happening here in the United States, billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of destruction. And, and just let's talk about the hurricanes. Let's talk about the wildfires. Like, okay, we need aid, theoretically, right? So how much money has Ukraine given us? I'm not talking about the firefighters they sent over and offered for 100 of their firefighters. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about money that we have given, apparently, a crazy amount of money. And there's like $117 billion being missing right now that Zelensky said, himself says, you guys are claiming you gave us this much? You only give us this much. And now it's like, oh, you just got ratted on by your partner in crime. Shit.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
All right.
That's in our national interest. We are going to fund programs that make America stronger or safer or more prosperous. We're going to pay for things that make sense for the United States. The United States government is not a charity. It is not a global charity. There are a lot of global charities. And they should go to, if you want to be involved in global charities, go join a global charity, raise private money and spend it on whatever you want.
Hey, Johnny, you know the deal. You know exactly what's happening around these parts. Lots of just shooting off guns and having a good ass time, eating some good ass food and fishing your own lake. Yeah. Riding around on ATVs, motorcycles and shit. That's what's up.
But this is taxpayer money. It's not my money. It's not their money. It's our money. It's taxpayer money. And we have an obligation, if we're going to do foreign aid, to do it in a way that makes sense, that doesn't support our enemies, and that actually is aligned with.
Wow. You know what's funny about this, Slim? This is an interesting amputee fact. For the chat that's in here that doesn't know, I'm an amputee at left leg. So interesting that you say this. So I'm going to give you an interesting fact. You know how that our body releases heat from, the top of your head, I believe from the bottom of your feet. There's a couple of different areas, whatever. Anyways, so when I lost my left foot, believe it or not, I lost the ability to be able to, release that heat by 25% in my body. So I actually retain a lot more heat. And since I've lost my leg, if I'm like hot or whatever, I sweat way more than I used to than before I had my amputation. So anyways, yeah, we got Provo up in the building saying amputee facts are a wild segment. Are you not entertained? Are you not having original content? Make sure you guys hit that like button, man. Very much appreciate you guys. You don't have to like, the all the time politic talk. But you guys can like the video for moi, you can do that. Very much appreciate you guys. And it's free.
Makes sense within the context of our foreign policy. And the people at USAID, at the top levels especially, have been completely uncooperative. They don't view themselves that way. They're insubordinate. They refuse to provide access. They refuse to provide information. Not now. They don't provide access to Congress. Go to members of the Senate who have tried to get answers from USAID, and they tell them, we're not going to tell you anything. We don't work for you. We don't work for state. We don't work for the president. We don't even work for America. We work for ourselves. That's not going to continue.
Do you get the sense that during this pause, or are you concerned during this aid pause, that China could come in and fill the vacuum with their influence operations?
No. I mean, first of all, they don't do that now. If they did, they'd be out there competing with us in these places. But my point is this. Even if they did that, why would we fund things that are against our national interest or don't further our national interest, whether China's there or not? If China wants to...
He's absolutely correct right here. Like I was saying, how many times that we have spent money in the most retarded areas of any which way you could spend money. The government has definitely, like, I thought I've spent money on stupid shit, you know? But now, after seeing and being, you know, the government being exposed on what they have been fucking putting their money in for the last 12 fucking years. I mean, especially the last 4. But you know what I mean. This shit is outrageous.
To waste their money on something that's against their national interest, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, my soul, what's up, man?
It's
good to see you, man. Good morning.
It makes no sense for us to be involved in things that undermine what is important to America, or that don't further what is important to America. And irrespective of what China decides to do, this is taxpayer money. We shouldn't be spending it on programs that have nothing to do
with Americans,
the United States, and nothing to do with making America stronger, safer, and more prosperous. We have a foreign policy, and everything we do, including spending money, has to be aligned with that, has to further our national interests.
Moving on to some of the tariffs now.
National.
You're heading up negotiations with Mexico. The president just announced that now. Do these tariffs, especially those against Canada, fundamentally change the relationship that the United States has with our most immediate neighbors?
Well, it changes our economic relationship. The
Right.
president's point is that
Nothing wrong with that.
Canada is very unfair. You know, that he'll tell you, and he said it repeatedly, U.S. banks can't operate there. There's all kinds of industries that they protect against and do not allow to enter the country. So he views this trade imbalance.
Yo, we got KP. Always a pleasure having you in here, man. Good morning, kind sir. Hopefully you're doing fantastic. Saying behind schedule this morning. Hey, man, that's no big deal. We still rocking it. We got Pitbull saying talking facts, bro. Yeah, absolutely. I only waste money on 2 stupid things: alcohol and Lego, like Legos. I spend it on alcohol as well. Trying to think of like stupid things I spend money on. I guess, I mean, the truth is chat. Let me ask you a question. Is food a stupid thing? Because I could be buying theoretically a lot cheaper and still have decent food, but I'm somebody who likes to eat kind of I think you guys know, if you guys know me, I'm someone that's really into like high-end food. So shit like that, I'll spend money on food like a motherfucker. That's absolutely something I'll do.
It's unfair. It needs to be reset. He also argues they have been less than cooperative on fentanyl and on the inflow of fentanyl. The Canadians will tell you that more fentanyl goes that way than the other way, but increasingly there was in October of last year, they found a big fentanyl lab inside of Canada, and he doesn't feel like we're getting enough cooperation.
100%.
So that's why he's imposed those tariffs. In the case of Mexico, the president's point is much of the northern region of Mexico, sadly, and an indirect threat to the Mexican government, is controlled by cartels.
Oh, good morning.
And so they've announced they're going to deploy 10,000 National Guard troops, Mexican National Guard troops, to their border.
I agree.
Northern border, and the president's decided to delay tariffs.
This is
It's a
new
good
way
move.
of doing business, a new world order.
Well, I think the president's point is America's been taken advantage of for far too long. And I think that's true across the board. That's been true on foreign aid. We have countries and places that we pour a bunch of money into, and then they vote against us at the UN every time. They support all of our enemies. And you start asking yourself, why do we keep putting money into this? Our embassies say it. And the USAID says, we don't care. We're going to keep doing it anyway.
Man, Marco's doing a fan-fucking-tastic job explaining all these issues. He's spot on.
In other cases, when it comes to trade, there are countries around the world where their companies can do whatever they want in America. They can do anything they want in America, but we can't do it over there. So there's this process called reciprocity, equal. Whatever you charge us, we get to charge you. Whatever you allow us to do, you're allowed to do. Whatever you block, we're going to block. I think the president's a big believer in reciprocity, in evenness, in fairness. For some reason, I don't know how this happened, But over the last 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, and it needs to not just be the UN, KP. It needs to be NATO. We need to defund all of it. Fuck all of it. Okay? And I know you've heard me say this a million times, and so has everyone in the chat, but I've just got to continue to say it. Get out of the UN. Get out of NATO. Stop funding all the bullshit in the EU. All that shit. We're spending fucking billions and billions of dollars on dealing with climate change in Africa. Like, what are we fucking doing? Gives a shit. I could give two fucks what is happening over there. I don't care. I care about us here, Americans. What's wrong with that? Why is that so villainized? I don't understand the issue.
We felt like it's okay for countries to take advantage of us, and that's just not going to continue under President Trump.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
As part of all
yeah,
of
that
this,
was
the president
fantastic. He did a fantastic
again
job.
Said that Canada should be our cherished 51st state. Is he serious? And are you working on that at the State Department?
Well, we're not involved in a negotiation to make them a state. And obviously, I think what we're focused on right now is what's most immediate in front of us, and that is that there's tariffs. That's obviously going to have an impact on our relations with them. We're still neighbors. We'll always be neighbors. Canada will always be our neighbor. Mexico will always be our neighbor. We can't move. You can't move to another neighborhood, right? So we're going to have to live alongside each other. And I hope we can find agreements. Again, we're the Department of State. We're the diplomats. So we're looking for ways to find things that are amicable. But I do think that neither Canada nor Mexico should make the mistake of thinking that this is bluster or that the president is just talking for purposes of negotiating leverage. He is serious that the U.S. is not going to be taken advantage of. And it's not just limited to Canada or Mexico. He's talked about some of the unfairness in the EU. He's imposed additional tariffs. We already had tariffs on China. These are additional tariffs.
And can China expect more, do you think, on top of what he's already proposed?
Well, if they continue to cheat and steal, yeah, absolutely. Look, China's doing what China's acting in their national interest. I don't like it, but I don't blame what the Chinese leaders are doing. They're doing.
Listen, organized insanity. I will tell you straight up. Yes, I will most of the time take in defense of Israel on a lot of things. But the truth is the reason why I even pay attention a lot to Israel is not just because it's fascinating. Yes, it's fascinating, of course, but that's not the actual reason. I actually feel like I have a moral obligation because our money and our resources go to, let's just talk about Israel. You know what I mean? So anytime that shit is going down in Israel, I usually talk about it because that's a lot of our ordeal, our resources. And so I feel like there's a moral obligation to keep an eye on, it's following the money. And that's essentially what I do with these countries. You know what I mean? This is why I got into geopolitics in the first place. I'm not even joking. All right, let's get back into this shit.
What any leader of a country would do, if you let them take advantage of you, they will. So I think he wants to bring fairness back to that relationship. And obviously, China's going to be upset that we try to bring fairness because they've had a really good deal, an unfair deal for a long time. The president is going to make that equal. And look, that's going to create outrage in Washington and in editorial boardrooms. But millions of people, whether they're watching this broadcast or just living in real world America, say, of course, this all makes sense. All of it makes sense to them.
Bringing it back to our region right now, Venezuela is taking back migrants that the Trump administration is deporting. They've released American prisoners. Maduro doesn't seem like the type of person to be doing things just out of the goodness of his heart to help the United States. Is this administration going to recognize Maduro as the legitimate leader of Venezuela?
There's no talks about doing that. No one's discussed it. We don't recognize him now. What he's agreed to is very simple. He's released Americans that should never have been in his prisons. They were hostages. They're not prisoners. They were hostages. He takes them for trade. And he's going to accept, especially these trained at agua criminals. We'll see if he actually does it. I hope they do. We got to get these people out of our country. They came from Venezuela, came through a bunch of...
Man, if I could do the voice, I would fucking try to mimic that right there, Glare. And I heard it. I heard it when you fucking said it.
Other countries wound up here committing crimes in the United States. He pushed those people out of his country. He emptied out his jails and prisons and pushed them into other countries and towards the United States. And he's going to have to take them back. I think leaders like Maduro, no matter how tough they try to be, they respect Donald Trump. They know this is not a guy who's going to send you a strongly worded letter. He will take actions. I'm not going to talk about what those actions are, but he knows and they know we have many options to inflict serious damage and harm on the Maduro regime. if they don't do what international law requires them to do, and that is accept their foreign nationals who are illegally in this country, especially those who are criminals. That's the priority, the criminals.
That's a lot of part of
He just laid that shit down.
your conversations down here in Central America as well, getting people to take, governments to take their nationals back. But will they also take back people from other countries that we can't deport directly to?
Well, I think we'll leave here today with two things. First of all, President Bukele here in El Salvador has always taken back their nationals. It's been a very strong partner of the United States. The Biden administration treated him very poorly. Probably the most popular leader in Central America, maybe all of Latin America in terms of public approval ratings.
That's true.
And because he made this country safe, he really did, and very popular. So he's always been willing to take back his nationals. He's taking them back. He'll continue to do so. And I think he'll agree to take back these MS-13 killers. He's built this prison system here to house them. And I think he's willing to take back these Tren de Agua criminals that are not El Salvadorians, but he's willing to house them in these prisons that he's built as well, because he's an ally of the United States.
And we'll see that in other countries as well, do you think?
Well, every country has a different level of capacity, but he has become sort of an expert in the region at dealing with crime and gangs in the street. Look, El Salvador is a country where 5 years ago, 6 years ago, you couldn't go out at night. You couldn't be out after half dark.
Mm-hmm.
There were people here. I used to, when I last here 2 years ago, you would talk to vendors, street vendors. They would tell you that every week.
Well, yeah, you know, as much as people say, you know, for instance, like Canada, like, oh, you know, it's funny that people even think that, yeah, will the United States take a small hit on some things? Yeah. But for instance, who can outlast each other longer? And the crazy part is if you look at the exports of Canada, 60% of what they export comes to us, or vice versa. Or no, that's right. Yeah, what they send us, the Lieutenant Tobacco's got me. So 60% of their exports come to us. So who do you think is going to outlast one another? Who's going to win? Because economically, Canada relies on us. Shit.
Some kid would come by on a bicycle and collect protection money from the gangs. If you didn't pay them the protection money, they'd cut off your daughter's ear, they'd cut off your son's hand, they'd kidnap them. That's gone. All that extortion is gone. He basically wiped up all these gangs and put them in these prisons, and they're gone. Yeah. This is now a safe country. He's a leader in that. And it's, you see what it's done in El Salvador. I hope other leaders will follow his example, but he now has the capacity to help house some of these people because he's a partner and an ally of Donald Trump. Joe Biden treated him very poorly.
Very quickly on Iran, do you expect that the pressure campaign, the maximum...
What's up, DBK? Good to see you, my man.
...coming back against Iran?
I think Iran right now is in very serious trouble because the people of Iran hate them. The people of Iran hate their own leaders. They hate them. They've destroyed their country. They've given all this money to Hezbollah.
Really quick, before I want to hear what the money being spent over to Hezbollah, because we know a little bit about that. But question, when you did have manufacturing in Australia, Charles, what did you guys manufacture and export out of curiosity? Like, I actually want to know the answer to that because I don't know. I really don't know what Australia does economically in that regard of like exports, and I never really have.
They've given all this money to terrorist groups, and they've done nothing for their own people. So they've got a lot of problems internally. I think they've lost. Hezbollah's been weakened. Hamas has been...
Hey, tell that to Southern California, Joseph. Stop the cap. Come on, homie.
Stop the cap.
Shit.
Weakened. They've lost Syria. They got kicked out of Syria. So they're very, very vulnerable.
So time to apply more pressure?
I think we need to apply more pressure to Iran until they stop doing the activities that they're doing. What are those activities? They're trying to ultimately get to a nuclear weapon. They keep providing weaponry for all these terrorist groups, the Houthis, okay? This group in Yemen that basically attacked global shipping and raised prices for everybody. All of their weapons were given to them by Iran. All of their weapons were given to them by Iran. So until the Iranian regime stops promoting international terrorism the way they have through Hezbollah, Hamas, the groups they have had in Syria, the groups they have in Iraq, I think they need to face more pressure, not just from us.
You guys make cars? What the fuck? I don't know if I would ever buy. I would never trust an Australian car. I'm not gonna lie. Do you guys still make cars?
Other countries in the world that are implicated or feel the wrath and feel the punishment of what they've done.
Cracking down on oil sanctions, tightening those up, even more sanctions you think are needed?
Absolutely. And we'll see. I mean, the president hasn't made a pronouncement on that yet. He's making a decision on what exactly that is. The bottom line is the president's goal is to get Iran to stop supporting terrorism and stop destabilizing the region and stop trying to be the dominant force in the Middle East. That has to end. They're a direct threat to Israel, but they're really a direct threat to the United States. That threat needs to go away. The president is going to reestablish deterrence. He has many options at his disposal to do that, and those will be forthcoming soon.
And arguably the most complex relationship you're going to have to manage is that with China. Are you planning on going to Beijing anytime soon?
We have no plans to go at this time, but you're right. I mean, look, the future of the 21st century will be about the relationship between the United States and China. China's going to be rich and powerful country. They already are. We're not going to keep them from being a rich and powerful country. What we cannot allow is to live in a world where China dominates an entire continent and nobody there can have deals with us. What we cannot have is to live in a world where we depend on China for things we need to be strong. We can't depend on them for industry. We can't depend on them for critical minerals. We can't depend on them for energy. We can't depend on them for medicine. We can't allow them to take over the car industry, the telecommunication industry. That can't happen. We can't reach a point in the world where the United States depends on China. We can never allow that to happen.
Damn,
it's
Mr.
not about
Mister.
containing them.
By the way, good morning, Mr. Mister. Good to see you in the chat as always, man.
It's about reestablishing real balance. They're a great power. They're going to be a great power. It's a big country. It's historically been a great power. But there needs to be fairness and equality and that balance in that relationship. And it cannot lead to an America that's dependent on China for everything that makes us safe and strong and prosperous.
The final question, and I think it's a very good place to
Man,
end.
this has been a fantastic interview, by the way.
Sir, do you see yourself as the representative of the United States government ever going to Havana?
Well, first of all, I have no intention of going to Havana with this regime in place other than to discuss when they're going to leave. That regime is a disaster. It's destroyed the country. It's turning Cuba into a nursing home. Sadly, the only people that don't leave are the ones that are too old or too sick to leave. They've lost 10, 12% of their population just in the last 3 years. They're incompetent and they're evil, that regime. But they're also a threat to the United States. They've invited China to open spy bases. They invite Russia in. They're partners with Iran. They just joined a partnership with South Africa to support Hamas at the expense of Israel. That isn't a government. That is a regime that is hostile to the United States. And so until that changes, there's nothing for me to talk about with them.
Mr. Secretary, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Man, that was fantastic.
So that was the very latest from Secretary Rubio speaking with Fox News about his agenda in South America. And then on the left side of your screen, we had the live events and top stories we are following on this Tuesday. Speaking of...
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and skip ahead. We're going to go ahead and skip ahead now. Let's see. Okay, I do know a little bit about that. They also did have a Israel-Hamas ceasefire hostage concert for... So there's, I believe, 2 hostages that are here on this top left, up here on this rail or whatever. The camera keeps showing them because it's for them, this whole like concert hall ordeal thing. So they do a little ceremony for them, like with like an actual orchestra, which is pretty damn cool. But of course, we'll go ahead and skip ahead. We got the future of TikTok.
Executive order may offer clues to its potential
blackout in mid.
Clues to.
We're going to bring it back. There we go. All right. I want to hear this part. I want to hear this part. Yeah, Marco was on point for that, by the way. 100%.
7:50 here on the East Coast and giving you a live look at the U.S. Capitol. A law signed by former President Joe Biden had directed TikTok to cease existence in the U.S. by January 19th if it failed to sell a U.S. company, with many lawmakers citing concerns the app could compromise Americans' data and national security. While President Donald Trump has given TikTok an extension, the app that roughly 170 million people in the U.S. use remains on uncertain ground this morning. But a new executive order may offer clues to its potential future survival in America. Fox News' Ted Linder reports.
So Trump did another executive order on top of it?
While TikTok came back online in the U.S. after a brief blackout in mid-January,
The fate of the popular social media app is still up in the air. President Donald Trump has given TikTok's Chinese-owned parent company until early April to find a domestic buyer. Trump also wants the U.S. to have a 50% stake in the app. A new move may help open those doors and allow the U.S.
Well, that's ultimately what they wanted from TikTok in the first place. I mean, that was the motive right there, was that there wasn't government control, at least with like Meta, meaning, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. All these things are United States companies and are operated here. And so, of course, the government didn't have a necessary stake in TikTok, and what they're really after is the data and all of that shit. So, anyways, yeah, it really did come down to government control.
Profit off of TikTok in the future.
We're going to have a sovereign wealth fund.
President Trump signed an executive order Monday instructing the country to explore.
No, I hate TikTok. I think it's the worst platform that there is. I don't have that opinion because of what's been happening with TikTok. I've actually been talking about this issue since TikTok's original bill from Biden came through, and where we didn't act, that TikTok was just the face of that bill. What really was being passed then was something called the Restrict Act. If you think the Patriot Act is fucking bad, look what we passed. Look at what we passed with the TikTok bill, but really it's the Restrict Act. Nonetheless, I hate the fucking platform. It has nothing to do with anything to do with politics. I think, well, aside from their own censorship, me posting a video of me riding a motorcycle amputated, I get it taken down for dangerous activity. But a normal person can ride a motorcycle and it'd be fine, right? But me, I'm actually getting look, I'm getting discriminated against as a disabled motherfucker. I'm getting discriminated against, even though I'm not like acting disabled. But whatever. I'm just saying. I think it's a dog fucking shit platform. I really do think.
The creation of a government-owned investment fund, also known as a sovereign wealth fund.
Within the next 12 months, we are going to monetize the asset side of the U.S. balance sheet.
Essentially, sovereign wealth funds are supposed to help countries invest surplus funds in projects that help the nation. They also can put money towards buying government stakes in companies.
The extraordinary size and scale of the U.S. government and the business it does with companies should create value for American citizens. If we are going to buy 2 billion COVID vaccines, maybe we should have some warrants and some equity in these companies.
While details have not been specified, President Trump is suggesting the fund could help finance the purchase of TikTok.
And as an example, TikTok, we're going to be doing something perhaps with TikTok and perhaps not. If we make the right deal, we'll do it. Otherwise, we won't. But I have the right to do that. And we might put that in the sovereign wealth fund.
President Trump's order will also examine whether Congress will need to pass new legislation for the fund to start. Ted Lindner, Fox News.
All right, Ted.
Make sure you guys hit that like button, everybody. Like I always say, man, we're doing a little quick halt to the show. Listen, I don't ask you guys to send in money or anything like that. I ask one thing, and it's free. And hitting that like button is what I'm asking of you guys. I very much appreciate you guys. Very much. You don't have to like it for, the whole TikTok ordeal or whatever, but you can like it for my takes, man. Very much appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much for that detailed report, giving you a live look at the White House here at 7:53 on the East Coast. And again, that new
executive orders coming in right now.
He's going to Gavin Newsom.
Marcus, sir.
Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to watch the executive orders real quick, and then we'll end it with that. That's what we'll do.
From the president, let's listen in.
And then I'll send you guys over to the fentanyl crisis hearing. You know what I mean? Because it did just get underway about like 30 minutes ago or something like that. But I know it's going to go all day. So, but we may at the end check to see how it's going currently live or whatever. But I'll send you guys over there nonetheless. Yeah, fuck TikTok, by the way, Straight Jacket. Yep. It's good, man. Hopefully you're having a good morning so far.
Thank you very much. We have some Very exciting news today. We have numerous fronts are being covered. Before we do that, will give me certain
Shit, those Quaaludes,
proclamations. We'll sign them, and you'll hear a little bit about them. Will, please?
Yes, sir. First, we have for your signature 5 official designations of special envoys. The first is Mr. Steve Witkoff, who's actually in the room, to be your Middle East envoy.
Where is Steve? Steve Witkoff, everybody. He's done a great job in the Middle East. Really great. But we'll see how it all turns out. It's complex, but I think he's going to do very well.
Next, we have Mauricio Claver-Carron to be your special envoy to Latin America, sir.
Okay.
Special envoys.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have retired General Keith Kellogg to be your special envoy on Russian-Ukraine issues.
Okay, and these are envoys.
We've made a lot of progress on Russia, Ukraine. We'll see what happens, but a lot of progress has been made. We got to stop that ridiculous war.
Get her done. I got money on the fucking bet. Come on, man. Money's on the table. We're betting against, on that this shit's going to be ended and within the first 6 months of presidency. You better do it, Trump.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Ridiculous war.
Next,
That's
we
right.
have,
It is.
Designation of Rick Grinnell, to be your envoy for special missions.
I sent him to California to turn on the water. We turned it on. It was not easy because we had to go through a lot of environmentalists that are causing a lot of problems. And we have billions of gallons of water. It was on 3 days ago. You probably saw. It should have gotten a lot of press, but it didn't get much. All we're doing is giving Los Angeles and the entire state of California virtually unlimited water, which they could have done 5 years ago, which I told them they should do, but the environmentalists stopped them. And we opened it and we did it regardless of the state.
Oh, I don't know which part you were talking about there in context. Not sure.
And now the state seems to be very happy. I spoke with Gavin Newsom, and he's very happy. I almost called him by the other name.
Oh, the Wealth Fund. Okay, that's what you were talking about. Yeah. Okay.
Little nickname for him, but I think they're all happy. They have a lot of water in California. Too bad we didn't have it about 2 months ago, right? That was, by the way, that was a big move. We have, I don't know if you saw the pictures that were released of the water pouring down from the Pacific Northwest and Canada and lots of other places. And it's pretty amazing.
He almost did. That's why he stuttered on his word right there, because I'm used to calling him new scum too.
Site.
Mr. President, Rick Grinnell had a big Friday trip as well.
He had a very big Friday trip. You're right.
What's up, Trigger Warning? Good morning, man.
He's a good man, Rick.
Lastly, sir, we have a designation of Mark Burnett as your special envoy to the United Kingdom.
Envoys.
You know who Mark Burnett is? I figure he should be good. He certainly had done a great job. Friend of mine and very talented guy. We have very talented people working for us.
Got to use your resources.
Hold that one up because Mark gets so much television. We'll hold it up, right? He'll be thrilled to see it. He's going to do a good job.
Thank you, sir. Next, your administration has smashed records
Gunpowder
for
nitro.
appointing large numbers of highly qualified, capable people at all levels of the federal government. These are 28 sub-cabinet level officials being appointed to a number of different departments and agencies. Some of them are quite important positions like departmental general counsels, but these are people who have been pre-vetted and have received your approval previously.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Next, this is an executive order. This charges your Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, and your Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, to begin a process that will hopefully result in the creation of an American sovereign wealth fund.
It's a very exciting event. We're going to have a sovereign wealth fund, which we've never had. We have a lot of things that create wealth, and you're seeing that over the last 2 weeks. I think we've created more wealth. Other people have created de-wealth, the people, my predecessors. We're creating a lot of wealth. Scott, maybe you'd like to say something about it, and I'd ask also Howard to say something about it.
Oh, wow.
Yes, sir.
That's funny that you point that out. I didn't even see, I wasn't even looking at that. Live protests against Elon Musk in DC on the top right. I didn't even see that shit.
Very exciting. We're going to stand this thing up within the next 12 months. We're going to monetize the
Stephanie, always appreciate you. Thank you for coming by and hanging out with us, by the way. Good morning.
the asset side of the U.S. balance sheet for the American people. We're going to put the assets to work. And I think it's going to be very exciting. We're going to study best practices that's done around the world. It'll be a combination of liquid assets, assets that we have in this country as we work to bring them out for the American people.
The extraordinary size and scale of the U.S. government and the business it does with companies should create value for American citizens. If we are going to buy 2 billion COVID vaccines, maybe we should have some warrants and some equity in these companies and have that grow for the help of the American people. So I bring on all these things.
So government control
together. I think we'll create, Scott and I will create an amazing sovereign wealth fund for you, sir.
So other countries have sovereign wealth funds, and they're much smaller countries, and they're not the United States. We have tremendous potential in this country, tremendous. You're seeing that's what's happened just in a short period of time. And as an example, TikTok, we're going to be doing something perhaps with TikTok, and perhaps not. If we make the right deal, we'll do it. Otherwise, we won't. But I have the right to do that. And we might put that in the sovereign wealth fund, whatever we make, or if we do a partnership with very wealthy people, a lot of options, but we could put that as an example in the fund. And we have a lot of other things that we could put in the fund. And I think in a short period of time, we'd have one of the biggest funds. And, you know, some of them are pretty large, I must tell you. Some of the, like the Saudi Arabia fund is on the large side, but eventually we'll catch it. But we're going to create a lot of wealth for the fund. And I think it's about time that this country had a sovereign wealth fund. And these two gentlemen and some others are going to work with them very closely, and they'll be heading it up, and they're going to do a great job. Two highly respected people that have done unbelievably well in the world, in the real world. So that's a big deal, huh?
Yes, sir. I think it's going to create value and be of great strategic importance.
Mr. President, why is it important for Elon Musk to have access to the payment systems at Treasury?
Well, he's got access only to letting people go that he thinks are no good.
to audit. Yeah.
We agree with him. And it's only if we agree with him. He's a very talented guy from the standpoint of management and costs. And we put him in charge of seeing what he can do with certain groups and certain numbers. Some of the numbers are horrible, what he's found. Think of it, $100 million on condoms to Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
Condoms to Hamas.
I thought it was 50 million. Did he say 100 million?
And many other things that are frankly even more ridiculous. And they're finding tremendous waste, really waste more than anything else, I think you could say. Probably fraud and abuse could be added to it, the more standard waste, fraud, and abuse. But they're finding tremendous amounts of really bad things, bad spending.
Absolutely. Appreciate you always, Redneck.
You've been reading about. You've
Have a
been
good
writing about
rest of
some
your
it,
day,
frankly,
kind
and
sir.
Some of the things that they've been doing is just terrible. Elon can't do and won't do anything without our approval, and we'll give him the approval where appropriate. We're not.
Oh, you didn't hear about that, Dirty? I thought it was 50 million, but I think he said 100 million. I always heard the number was 50, but anyways, let's just say 50, whatever, $100 million of condoms to Hamas. Yeah, that happened. That happened. It already happened. It's not like it was going to happen. It actually happened. Yeah, yeah.
We won't.
Swear to God.
But he reports in, and it's something that he feels very strongly about, and I'm impressed because he's running obviously a big company. It has nothing to do if there's a conflict that we won't let him get near it. But he does have a good natural instinct. He's got a team of very talented people. We're trying to shrink government.
Lone Cowboy,
and he can probably shrink it as well as anybody else, if not better. Where we think there's a conflict or there's a problem, we won't let him go near it. But he has some very good ideas, and we have a lot of very other talented people also. We're bringing in the most talented people in the world. By the way, we just unrelated, but we have two of the most talented people in the world, the legendary Rupert Murdoch and Larry Ellison.
I very much appreciate that, by the way, Redneck Side. I take that as a mega, massive compliment.
So
thank you.
They are two legends in business, publishing, and probably every other. Rupert is Larry pretty much in a class by himself, right? I mean, although you may have a couple of bucks more, I don't know, but Rupert is in a class by himself. He's an amazing guy, and Larry is Larry is one of the most serious players anywhere in the world. So,
yo, Wild Card, good to see you, man.
This
Good
has
morning.
nothing to do with you people, but they're here, and I thought it would be appropriate. I'm sure you didn't recognize them. They're all going crazy. They're saying, "What are they doing here?"
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President, on the tariffs, is there any chance that Canada or China could also get out of the tariffs after you struck a deal with Mexico?
Well, nobody's out with Mexico. We had a great talk with Mexico, and we had President Sheinbaum is a woman. I like her very much. We've had good relationships, but we have to stop fentanyl from coming in, whether I like somebody or not, and we have to stop the illegal aliens from coming in. I think we've lost 200,000 people on average a year for many years, much higher than the 100,000, could be even closer to 300,000. And they've agreed to put in 10,000 soldiers permanently, like forever, 10,000 soldiers at their side
Or like forever.
of the border, and stop fentanyl and illegal aliens from coming into our country. They have a big incentive to
Well, that's not just the south border. It's also our northern border. Both countries have agreed to basically the exact same terms. Yeah. So 10,000 of Canadian Army or whatever will be up there patrolling, as well as 10,000 of their military down there in Mexico.
Other than that, we've agreed to talk and consider various other things. We haven't agreed on tariffs yet, and maybe we will, maybe we won't. But we have a very good relationship. I also spoke with Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada, and we had a good talk in the morning, but I did ask him a couple of questions, like, banks aren't allowed to do business in Canada. Canada is very tough. Canada is very, we're not treated well by Canada, and we have to be treated well. Banks are not, as an example, allowed to. Do you know that American banks are not allowed to do business in Canada?
I didn't know that.
Can you believe that? And that's one of many things, and we talked about it, and I think we'll win most of the subjects. But for some reason, a lot of things have been very unfair with Canada. I noticed that.
That makes a lot of sense,
in the first
mister.
term, you deal with people, and after a while, you begin to realize, like you learn that Larry Ellison's very tough to do business with, okay? He's a very tough guy. I mean, I'm sure you're shocked to hear that. But Canada is very tough. They're very, very tough to do business with. And we can't let them take advantage of the U.S. They don't take our agricultural product for the most part. They don't take our cars. They make cars, but they basically don't take our cars. And, we don't need, and look, I think we're going to have another good conversation today. We're actually speaking at 3:00 again. But we don't need them to make our cars. We don't need them to give us lumber. We don't need them for agricultural products because we have all the agriculture we need. They don't take our agricultural product for the most part, our milk, dairy, etc. A little bit they do, but not much. We take theirs. And as far as cars are concerned, they took in a big percentage, almost 19% of the market. And, I wouldn't mind making our cars in the United States. So we have a problem there. I'd like to make our cars in the U.S. We don't need Canada to make our cars. With that being said, we're going to have another call at 3:00. We had a call this morning. It was
Bring the business back home.
Pretty good call, I'd say.
Just got to get around that, all that fucking red tape. You guys got to get rid of that shit. These companies are like, we're no fucking nationalists. We don't give a fuck. We're globalists. Yeah, no shit. You know, your market is the world. We have to be careful with the amount of red tape and bureaucracy that we fucking impose on these fucking businesses. Otherwise, they will find another place to go.
The call with Mexico went very well in the sense that
I appreciate that, my
they're
soul.
very strong
Thank you
now
for
on the
that.
border. They're going to put soldiers there. So, actually, they're best military soldiers, and they're going to be at the border. 10,000. That's a lot of soldiers, and they want to protect.
And you as well, War Gorilla. Always.
It also,
Stay
you know,
tactical.
they don't want people running through Mexico, coming through Mexico to come into our country. So they're going to do that. And then we're going to talk about other things over the next 30 days, we're going to have Scott, Howard, and Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, lead the delegation. And we're going to have a big negotiation with Mexico. I'll be involved too. And President Sheinbaum will be involved to see whether or not we can work something out on the tariffs.
What about China?
China will be speaking to China probably over the next 24 hours.
Yeah, he's an idiot, Dirty.
We don't want fentanyl coming into our country. Now, we had another big thing. Speaking of China, China's involved with the Panama Canal. They won't be for long. And that's the way it has to be. Marco just got back, as you know. He's in the process of...
Joseph, I like that. Our fellow Canadian biker says, Trump, we need your motorcycles, no cap.
Stop the cap.
Yes, indeed.
Coming back. I guess he's almost back by now. And he had a very long conversation with the leader of Panama, the respected man. And,
hey, you. Good morning.
Others, the entire leadership.
Or good afternoon.
Group. And we're trying to work a deal with the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal was given foolishly years ago to, it shouldn't have been happened, years ago to Panama, like Jimmy Carter and the group.
For $1.
We lost 38,000 people.
Yes, 38,000 lives.
Canal, like one of the great wonders of the world. It's the biggest job we've ever built, the biggest project we've ever.
Imagine that 38,000 people die for an entire building of an operation, and then you sell it or give it away for $1. 38,000 people died for that shit.
Built in this country, dollar-wise and every other way. 38,000 people died, Americans, all men, just about, laborers and construction people. They went to Panama. The mosquito got them. Between mosquito and snakes, we lost 38,000 people. It was the most expensive project ever built by the United States. The biggest, most expensive project we ever built 110 years ago. If you bring it up to now, it would have been the equivalent of $2 trillion. The most expensive we ever built, and we gave it away for $1. Okay, we gave it away essentially for nothing.
$1.
And we either want it back, or we're going to get something very strong, or we're going to take it back. And China will be dealt with. And we didn't give that to China. We gave it to Panama. We shouldn't have given it to Panama. But Panama, as you know, has violated the agreement, totally violated the agreement. So that's in the process right now. But they did have a very good meeting with the head of Panama.
In addition to tariffs on China, do you say your current thinking about whether China should be forced to pay reparations both for fentanyl deaths and the million COVID?
No, I haven't talked about that, but they do have tariffs. Honestly, nobody, the amount of money that was lost and most importantly, the lives lost because of COVID is not something that anybody could ever even imagine. It's probably $60 trillion, and all the countries in the world don't have $60 trillion. The amount of death and the amount of destruction and the amount of money lost is probably $60 trillion. I had it figured by people.
Damn.
About 3 months ago. I just said, figure it out. Nobody knows what the real number is, but it's almost an infinite number, the damage done. No, but I have not discussed that. What I have discussed is we'll have some good meetings with China. We have meetings planned, and we'll see what happens. But that was just an opening salvo. If we can't make a deal with China, then the tariffs will be very, very substantial. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to sign this one.
Sir, this is, you've obviously made making America healthy again a key priority of this administration. A key component of that is obviously heart health. This is a ceremonial proclamation declaring the month of February to be National Heart Month.
Okay. I hear we're doing very well with nominations. We'll see, but it looks like we're doing very well with nominations.
Mr. President, have you been involved with calling senators who had some concerns about Tulsi Gabbard or
Yes.
RFK?
Yeah, I've gotten great response. They want to do what's right, and we've had a good response. I think we'll do well.
I
We
like
have great
Tulsi.
people like this. We have great people coming in. I'd like to say the best ever recruited for government. I think we have the finest people ever recruited for government.
Will we take an active Congress?
And you know what? You're starting to see that because we've done more in 2 weeks than Biden's done in 5 years, 6 years.
Look at her fucking prancing around for 30 people.
If they could be here between him and Obama, you add it up, okay? We've done more in 2 weeks than they've done in 12 years.
Will it take an active Congress to do away with USAID, or do you believe you have?
I don't know. I don't think so. No.
Think I can't keep up, Ka?
If not, when it comes to fraud, if there's fraud, these people are lunatics, and if it comes to fraud,
Oh, I
we
just
wouldn't have
died.
an active Congress. And
But I
I'm not
got a
sure that
little.
You would anyway, but we just want to do the right thing. It's something that should have been done a long time ago. It went crazy during the Biden administration. They went totally crazy what they were doing, and the money they were giving to people that shouldn't be getting it, and to agencies and others that shouldn't be getting it. It was a shame. So they're tremendous fraud. But we'll be doing a report. We'll be giving you that report at the appropriate time.
You know, in the first term, though, USAID was something that you liked in some respects.
I love the concept of it. Yeah,
Had some programs.
sure. I love the concept, but they turn out to be radical left lunatics. And the concept of it is good, but it's all about the people.
Mr. President, you said you also want to impose tariffs on the EU. What kind of tariffs are you thinking about?
Well, we have massive deficits with the European Union, massive, like $350 billion, if you can believe it. They don't take our farm product. They don't take our cars. They don't take almost anything, but we take their cars. We have millions of cars coming in, BMW and Mercedes-Benz and Volkswagen and just so many different cars, and we don't do anything about that. And
Shit, definitely no hybrid for me, Ka. It's all straight indica. In the couch.
we don't charge them tariffs. They make it impossible to sell cars in the European Union. They make it very difficult, agricultural product. They actually don't take it. And they have a lot of excuses. Some of them are the pesticides and the different chemicals used. And Bobby Kennedy actually is looking at that very, very seriously, because maybe it's not necessary to use all of that. You know, we want to be the healthiest country, and we're not. We spend more money on food than anybody else in terms of its creation, but we're not the healthiest country. So maybe there is something to the fact that we shouldn't be using so much chemical, and maybe that'll stop. But Bobby Kennedy is the one, because he is not a believer in all of the things we have done, and neither are the Europeans. So we'll see what happens. But they use it as an excuse not to buy our product. And I asked a couple of the leaders, I don't want to use names, but how many Chevrolets or Fords do you see in the middle of Munich? And the answer is none, because they don't take any cars. They don't take anything. So the European has abused the United States for years, and they can't do that. And they want to make a deal. Let me tell you, in all cases, they all want to make deals. There's nobody that doesn't want to make deals. They've been abusers, and they want to make deals. So we'll see about that. But we'll have, I think, some very fair. All we want is a fair deal. And, you know, there's a word, reciprocal. I'd go right now, reciprocal tariffs on everybody, because many of the countries that you feel so horrible about the way they're being treated by Trump, you're saying, oh, President Trump is so terrible to them. Well, they charge us tariffs. European.
Exactly. Even Canada, under our quote unquote free trade agreement.
Union has a VAT tax, which is through the roof. Okay. It's a similar thing. similar to a tariff. It's a VAT. And they have it, and it's numbers like you wouldn't believe. And Canada, I told you about the banks, and I told you they charge us. And people don't say that. They don't like to say it. Just like they don't like to say that I opened up the water for California. It's a great thing. It's too bad they didn't do it themselves. I had to do it, and it was not easy. We did it
You
a very
too, brother
rough
Johnny.
way.
Have a great
And
one.
I didn't like to do it a rough way. We shouldn't have to do it a rough way. But a lot of these countries that we're talking about, you know, they're so-called allies, but they don't treat us well. And just like I got $420 billion, and now it's actually over $600 billion, the Secretary General of NATO came in 2 weeks ago, and he said,
Right on. I'll check it
was
out
a miracle
after
when
the show.
Trump came in. When President Trump came into NATO, he said it was $636 billion by saying to them, no, you have to pay. And if you don't pay, we're not going to be there for you. You know,
Oh, shit.
somebody has to say it, and they paid. And it was a large amount of money. And one of the problems we have with the Russia-Ukraine situation is that we wanted to see some equalization, because we're in for close to $300 billion, and they're in for $200 billion less. Why are they in for less? Because Biden never asked them for money.
Right.
He never said, you got to pay. He never did. All he did is hand out money.
Yes.
So we're talking with them right now, and we're actually working some deals right now. So we have some guarantees and so.
Yeah, he comes around once in a while. Gunpowder Nitro, just depends. But yeah, he comes around once in a while still.
Other things to keep that whole situation to go, really going. I mean, going. We're telling Ukraine they have very valuable rare earth. We want what we put up to go in terms of a guarantee. We want a guarantee. We're handing them money hand over fist. We're giving them equipment. European is not keeping up with us. They should equalize. And look, we have an ocean in between. They don't. It's more important for them than it is for us. But they're way below us in terms of money. And they should be paying at least equal. They should really be paying much more than us. But let's say equal to us. And they're billions and billions of dollars below. So we're looking to do a deal with Ukraine where they're going to secure what we're giving them with their rare earth and other things.
The deal with Mexico this morning, was that partially related to the market reaction and a criticism from Mr. Murdoch's own newspaper? He called it the dumbest trade war on the editorial page on Saturday.
I'm going to have to talk to him. I've been right over the Wall Street Journal many times, I will tell you that. I don't agree with him on some things. No, it's not only is it not dumb, you're going to see. Every single one of those countries is dying to make a deal. You know why? Because they're ripping us off really badly. And the United States is tired of just being ripped off. And that's why we have $36 trillion in debt. We have it for a reason, because we make bad deals with everybody. And we don't allow that anymore. So the Wall Street Journal is wrong, because very simply, every single country that you're writing about right now is dying to make a deal, because the deals they have right now are so good and so good for them and so profitable for them. You didn't know that Canada didn't allow our banks. You didn't know all of these different things.
And did you know that they imposed in 2022, Canada imposed a tariff on the United States? Granted, it wasn't a fuck ton, but yet still a tariff. This motherfucker goes out here on the free trade agreement and puts a tariff on us, and we do nothing about it. Granted, like I said, it was a very small amount, 2.5%, which is still intact today. But it's nonetheless still a tariff. What happened to our free trade agreement?
And I think in the end, you're going to see that either very, very substantial tariffs are going to be paid by them, or they're going to make some kind of a deal.
Or did Mexican President Sheinbaum?
Did what?
Did you blink this morning?
There was no blinking. No, she's a wonderful woman, but she did agree to 10,000 soldiers on the border. I would say that's a lot. Would you say that's pretty good? 10,000 soldiers on the border?
Sir,
and the 10,000 soldiers are going to keep illegal aliens out, and they're going to keep them out, seriously out, and otherwise they're going to have a big penalty. Mexico's going to be penalized They're not going to come through Mexico anymore, and they're not going to let the fentanyl come in from China. And China hopefully is going to stop sending us fentanyl. And if they're not, the tariffs are going to go substantially higher.
Sir, just to clarify what you said about Ukraine earlier.
I was waiting to see if they were going to pause there, but I guess not. Yeah, that's insane, Papa. Shit.
The rare earths, is that something you want them to give the rare earths to the United States?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I want to have security of rare earth. We're putting in hundreds of billions of dollars. They have great rare earth, and I want security of the rare earth. And they're willing to do it.
Sir, you mentioned earlier that you
On Canada, when you talk to Justin Trudeau again, is there anything he can give you at 3 p.m. when you talk again to also
I don't
secure
know.
a pause,
I don't know.
like you said with Mexico?
I don't know. We have big deficits with Canada, like we do with all countries. I mean, I look at some of the deals made, I say, who the hell made these deals? Are so bad. But with Canada, I have a talk with him, and you maybe know or maybe not. We're going to meet again or talk again at 3 o'clock, right after my next meeting, and we'll see what happens. I can't tell you what's going to happen.
You mentioned that he could agree to change your mind on the tariffs?
Well, we can always, but look, what I'd like to see, Canada become our 51st state. We give them protection, military protection.
And federal funding.
We don't need them to build our cars. I'd rather see Detroit or South Carolina or any one of our Tennessee, any one of our states build the cars. They could do it very easily. We don't need them for the cars. We don't need them for lumber. We don't need them for anything. We don't need them for energy. We have more energy.
And yet 60% of their fucking exports are U.S. based. So who's going to really be hurt?
Than they do. We don't need them for energy. So
Be safe out there, Gunpowder Nitro.
Why are we willing to lose between $100 billion and $200 billion a year? We don't need them. As a state, it's different. As a state, it's much different. And there are no tariffs. So I'd love to see that, but some people say that would be a long shot. If people wanted to play the game right, it would be 100% certain that they'd become a state. But a lot of people don't like to play the game because they don't have a threshold of pain. And there would be some pain, but not a lot. The pain would be really there. So we're going to meet again by phone at 3 o'clock, and we'll let you know. What
Damn.
Israel President Trump,
All right.
Benjamin Netanyahu.
Coming in tomorrow.
Yes, you've mentioned in the past you're concerned about Israel being too small geographically. Would you support annexation of parts of the West Bank by Israel?
Well, I'm not going to talk about that. It certainly is a small.
Yeah, not while we're under a ceasefire like that, as well as we have our negotiators dealing with a lot of these things that are happening in Israel. So
It's a small country in terms of land. See this pen, this wonderful pen?
yeah,
My desk is the Middle East.
yeah,
And this pen, the top of the pen, that's Israel.
yeah.
That's not good, right?
That's not good.
It's a pretty big difference. I use
That's not good.
that as an analogy. It's pretty accurate, actually. It's a pretty small
That was
piece of
epic.
land. And it's amazing that they've been able to do what they've been able to do when you think about it. It's a lot of good, smart brain power, but it is a very small piece of land, no question about it.
Mr. President, you said earlier that Elon Musk is doing everything with your say-so. So is there everything that he has done thus far, going through all the agencies, shutting off access, getting access to federal payments, that all has you're okay with all of that?
For the most part, yeah. If we, if there was something that didn't have my okay, I'd let you know about it really fast.
And you think there's some areas where you wouldn't let him work because he has conflicts of interest?
If there was a no, I haven't seen that. And he would know not to do it. So we have.
Is that really for real? Like Papa said, because make America belt fed again. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
That yet, but if there was a conflict, we would let him work in that area.
Earlier you said with regard to Panama that they were going to make a deal where the U.S. is going to take it. How long do they have to make that sort of deal? And are you still leaving on the table?
We're going to meet with Panama on Friday at about 3:30 in the afternoon by phone, and maybe there'll be some representatives that, here or there. But we're going to be talking to Panama on Friday, essentially. And they've agreed to certain things, but I'm not happy with it.
On the Middle East, Mr. President, if I may, do you still have doubts that the ceasefire will hold?
On what?
of the Middle East? Do you think the ceasefire
Well,
I have
there's
no
multiple ceasefire agreements.
assurances that it'll hold. I mean, I've seen people brutalized. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. No, I have no guarantees that the
Right.
peace is
Good
gonna
answer.
hold. Steve, you might want to say something about
Good
that.
answer.
Steve Woodcock.
It's holding so far.
It's holding so far, he said.
We're certainly hopeful, and that's the president's direction. Get the hostages out, save lives, and come to hopefully a peaceful settlement of it all. So far it's holding.
Mr. President, on a different topic, questionnaires have been going out to FBI agents across the country.
Hit that like button, everybody.
In the investigation, you believe anyone involved at any level should be fired, sir?
Well, I think the FBI was a very corrupt institution, and I'm a victim of it in a true sense. I was able to beat it, but other people have been treated horribly. I think the FBI had a great reputation. I
There
think
you go.
Its reputation was really damaged badly, as is DOJ. Look at what they've done in terms of weaponization. Look at what they've done to a political opponent. Probably got me elected by what they did, or I think I was doing well anyway, but they might have got me elected. But you know what? We have to have pristine, beautiful, perfect law enforcement. And what we want to do, and Cash is the one to do it. He's the one guy that is going to do it. We have to bring the reputation of the FBI. We have to bring the fact of the FBI back to what it could
What up,
be.
Natalia?
Not even to what it was, even better than it ever was. Because who would have thought that the FBI could have been corrupted like they were corrupted? Who would have thought that would have happened? Who would have thought they would have been used to go after, political opponents, essentially, but me being the number one, and so many other things beyond that. And they've been hurt very badly, and we'll see what happens. But Cash is the one to do it, and I hear he's doing very well. Cash will.
Yo, Christopher, my man, thumbs up to me, my man. I very much appreciate that. And that goes for everybody else, man. If you guys are enjoying the content, you don't necessarily have to enjoy all the political bullshit that we've been going through this entire morning, but you guys can like it for my takes. You know what I mean? Very much appreciate every single one of you guys. Let's go.
Straighten it out. We have great confidence that we can make the FBI great again. Okay, one or two more.
I don't.
and we'll be done.
Defund the, well, how about this? Not just the FBI. Defund all 3-letter agencies, including the IRS in the United States. Absolutely. Shit.
Yeah, I think Chelsea's going to be doing okay. I'm
Yes.
not sure. I can't guarantee anything, but
Right.
she's liked by so many people, especially people in the military and law enforcement.
She has a little bit of trouble with some senators over her thoughts on Edward Snowden. I know Snowden, you've mentioned in the past you're thinking about pardoning him. Are you still, and what do you think about that?
No, I don't talk to about it right now. I just, people feel very differently. Some people think he should be
Me too,
pardoned.
Christopher.
Some people think it would be a terrible thing to do, but I don't get involved in that.
Mr. President, what are you discussing with Mr. Murdoch and Mr. Helsinki?
Just respect. I have great respect for Rupert Murdoch. I disagree with him a lot of times.
Why would anybody get that straight jacket? Like, I want an actual answer to this. Why would anybody want a belt-fed semi? For real? Is that like people actually go out and buy those? Are you serious? For what? Nostalgia? Like, what are we doing that for? Just to look
The Wall
cool?
Street Journal, but that's all right. We've disagreed.
I would
before,
never
but-
use that.
And I'm sure they didn't have any idea what they were talking about, because already you see what's happening. Look at Colombia. Look at what happened with that. Everybody said that with Colombia it was going to be a disaster. In one hour, everything was settled. You know why? Tariffs. Without tariffs, they wouldn't have been the same way. They would not have treated me the way they treated me, which was extremely nicely. And I don't want to use countries. I don't want to use names, but tariffs are very powerful, both economically and in getting everything else you want. Tariffs for us, nobody can compete with us because we're the pot of gold. But if we don't keep winning and keep doing well, we won't be the pot of gold, and then tariffs won't be so good for us. But when you're the pot of gold, the tariffs are very good. They're very powerful, and they're going to make our country very rich again. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Man, that was actually a fantastic that was a fantastic all the way around episode. There was a lot there to cover, and there's actually still more to go, theoretically. But as you guys know, RFK Jr. vote is now going to the Senate. And so we're good there, as well as you guys heard about the fentanyl crisis, as well as even regarding the plane crashes in DC, the small amount that we talked about it on, as well as the Trump tariffs regarding Mexico and Canada. So then we, of course, went into the executive orders, and I didn't even know that was going to happen today. I actually didn't. I had no idea up until we were doing this live. So I was like, all right, cool. We got an executive order day. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I can't thank you guys enough from the bottom of my heart for you guys coming out and supporting the show like you guys do. I can't do it without you guys, legitimately. Very, like, for instance, like before we go and I send you guys off, like, for instance, this was yesterday, and I'm going to pull it up. Give me a second. I've got to see if it's on my storyline. It's not anymore because I posted it right after my show yesterday. So let me go ahead and bring up this part of the vlog on my Instagram. So I'm going to pull this up so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. It's going to go ahead and load up. Give it a second. It's a lot of highlights in here. That's why it's doing that. It'll go. There it goes. All right. So my Instagram, everyone, follow me over there at Ball Valve TV. Post everything, all sorts of nonsense over here. All sorts. It was right after the show. There it is. Got off the show, and I've got to be honest, man. I'm really beside myself. I'm honored that you guys enjoy the show. I feel absolutely terrible that I was not able to keep up with the chat. Actually, the majority of the live stream, it was probably only about 10 minutes in, and then I just could not keep up with the rest of the chat for the remainder of the hour and 30 minutes that we went. So I'm very appreciative of all you guys. I got to showcase the majority of your guys' comments onto the show as always. But I'm very honored to be able to have that issue. I know that is a funny issue to talk about because it's something I always dreamt about, and now here I am, and I'm struggling with it. So I'm very appreciative. Thank you all for hanging out with us this morning, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Absolutely. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for making this very shit happen, man. I'm always honored. Mega love, honor, and respect to all of you guys. I can't thank you guys enough. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow morning for more of the world's madness, man. Absolutely stay safe out there, and God bless to everybody. Appreciate everyone.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning in his soul, with a heart, steel, and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels, ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow, he takes his stand, refusing to submit.